So this morning, police are providing extra security for those involved in the Manhattan case against Donald Trump, following a string of unsubstantiated threats. According to two sources familiar with the matter, Judge Juan Merchan and his family have received multiple threats since the hearing on Tuesday. The threats have also reportedly continued against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and his staff. Last month, a concerning letter with suspicious white powder, which was later found to be non-hazardous, were sent to the DA's office. Trump has escalated his rhetoric toward those involved in the case in recent weeks. And while he didn't mention anyone by name on his social media site yesterday, he did blast the, quote, radical left lunatics, maniacs, and perverts that he says had him arrested.
Wait, that's interesting. Now, what perverts? What's this case involve?
So this case involves hush money to a porn star, which, by the way, if I could just frame calmly, but, you know, I don't know any other candidate who pays off Playboy bunnies and porn stars where that's not something that everybody goes, stop, whoa, like, does this campaign continue or whatever? He has normalized things that, are fairly unseemly.
For evangelicals, that he's illegally sending hush money.
I mean, we're all like rolling past that.
He's illegally sending hush money to Playboy bunnies and to porn stars. And
that's an aside.
And he's talking about perverts. Again, I guess this is, projection or confession. I don't know exactly what it is, but again, you do wonder, like, evangelicals continuing to support this guy. I know the numbers are supposedly dwindling, but when they have a choice, it's somebody like Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or all these other people to continue, but lined up behind him is really, really crazy. I come from this area. This is my community, right? And these are some people who would like not let their children listen to rock music in high school,
right?
Because it was Satan's music. And now they're going, oh, Donald Trump, porn stars, Playboy models. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, go Donald. Fight for us, Trump. Fight for our rights. It's really, they've twisted themselves in knots. And now I would just say a charge that begins maybe weaker legally, but a charge that begins with a payoff to a porn star and a payoff to a Playboy bunny weeks before a presidential election to keep that hidden. That's actually not the best case, Willie, for evangelicals to once again have to walk through that moral minefield to somehow justify supporting this guy, and in some cases, hold him up as some secular idol, like it's a cult. It's really sick.
What's the old line we've been hearing, Joe? Both of us, Mika, all of us, for the last 8 years. Look, we elected a president, not a saint. And he's going to go fight for us. And we're willing to look the other way because he did get us 3 Supreme Court justices and Roe versus Wade was overturned. So all the things we get from Donald Trump are worth all the things that come with Donald Trump. But it is worth.
But Willie, that's not what they said when Bill Clinton. I know, but that's not what they said. All I heard when I was in Congress and Bill Clinton was president was, "How dare you not impeach him every day? How dare you? How dare you? You can't be president if you don't have character." Every Republican, every evangelical, every conservative, they said it repeatedly when character was king. What's his name's book of values or whatever it's called? Are you kidding me? And now those hucksters are first in line defending him, pretending as if everything they said when Bill Clinton was president of the United States no longer is on videotape. It is on videotape. It is in books. We got it. And they're all liars and hypocrites.
It is worth stopping once in a while. We've so internalized this Stormy Daniels story. It's stopping and remembering what we're talking about here. I mean, allegedly, that he's alleged to have done in this case. And Jen, there have been so many lines crossed along the way that people sort of just keep moving along. Go, there goes another one. For me, it started when he criticized John McCain way back in July of 2015. And everyone said, well, you can't criticize John McCain. He's a war hero. You can't mock what he went through. and his poll numbers started going up, and he didn't look back from there. And from there, line after line after line have been crossed, and people who support him are happy and willing to look the other way.
That is, I mean, that's. I remember that moment. I was like in Iowa with Hillary Clinton,
yeah.
and then when I saw him said that, and I was like, okay, this is it.
Right.
And then when it wasn't, you're like, this guy is in this for that. He has tapped into something new, and he's in it for the long haul. And there is no bottom. And every day he reminds us how there is no. Every day he does remind us how there is no bottom. But with the evangelical voters, I've talked to them. They support Trump. They're, the sanctity of life, abortion, that is their thing. But they're not that, a lot of them are not that comfortable with it. If someone would push back, if a Republican would say, I mean, you saw just like on Fox News, we saw Republican supporters on Fox News say, I don't like it when Trump says defund the police. Just because they like Trump doesn't mean they like everything he says. And if a Republican candidate would actually talk about the substance of the Stormy Daniels case and say how uncomfortable they are with it, it might have a resonance with the Republican voters, but no one is willing to do that.
No one's willing to do that. Every Republican, including those challenging Trump for the nomination, that when they talk about the case, it's simply to attack Manhattan DA Bragg. And we have members of Congress now trying to use official powers to try to investigate Bragg and try to strip him of his funding. They're not going to do that. There is probably an opening here for someone to move in, even on the evangelicals who, yes, largely still support Trump. But there's been some good reporting recently about some unhappiness about how Trump, frankly, has walked away a little bit from his Supreme Court picks who helped overturn Roe v. Wade. Trump has decided that's not politically beneficial. And we, of course, have seen time after time that perhaps it hasn't been, including in Wisconsin just this week. But the evangelicals may be not so happy about that. But he is still, and we see his poll numbers continue to go up. He is by far the front runner here. But with his latest comments here, Willie, about defunding the police, let's also think about who that puts in a really uncomfortable position. A lot of Republicans in the House, particularly those who won those Biden districts, those are the ones that tipped the House to Republicans last time around. And they now have to come back to their voters and say whether they support this call to defund federal law enforcement when, for so many Americans right now, crime is a real concern.
And Willie, what's so fascinating is about Trump. Trump is, and the pro-lifers know this. I mean, evangelicals say, oh, well, we'll look past the porn stars, we'll look past the Playboy bunnies, even though it makes us complete raging hypocrites for what we said about Bill Clinton. Complete raging hypocrites in front of our children, in front of our families, in front of the preacher, in front of the people we go to church with. Makes us complete hypocrites because they remember what we were saying about when Bill Clinton was president. Oh, character matters. Character is king. If you don't have character, how in the world can you run this country? We're a country of this and that. It's all they said. It was nonstop. They looped. They looped throughout the 1990s about Bill Clinton's character. And now suddenly they say it doesn't matter. And now the justification is, well, but at least he's pro-life. Did they not hear this same guy? Did they not hear him blame pro-lifers for the losses in 2022? Yeah. Did they not hear how he was freaking out when he heard that Roe v. Wade might be overturned after the leaked case came out? Like, it was Donald Trump who was freaking out because he's been pro-choice his whole life. This is just like birtherism and everything else. He took it on board. He didn't mind being a racist. He didn't mind trading in all of his worldviews to get the Republican nomination. But this guy freaked out when he heard that Roe v. Wade may be overturned. And so now they're like, okay, well, he was with a porn star and a Playboy bunny, but we're still with him because of abortion, because he agrees with us on. No, he blamed them for the 2022 election. He blamed Roe's overturning for the 22 election. I'm sure he'll blame it for what happened in Wisconsin as well.
As you're saying that, Joe, when he decided to become pro-life, I'm remembering the moment with Chris Matthews during the 2016 campaign in that town hall when Chris asked him, do you think women who get abortions should be punished? And you could see the gears start to turn. What's the right answer? What do people say to this? And he said, yes, women should be punished. We know he didn't necessarily believe that, but he was reaching and searching for what he thought was the right answer.